Tonight, we continue. Tonight's topic will be the return. Return. We're doing Gilgal reincarnation. So, looks like a lot of information over here, but it's going to go quickly. Last week, my wife yelled at me that I went like around 15 minutes overtime. So, I don't like getting yelled at. So, it's going to move very quickly. So, let's go. The return, Gilgal. First of all, and this will be somewhat of a bit of a review. What is the purpose of the reincarnation of a Gilgal? What's the purpose? So the purpose is a concept called tikkun. Tikkun means to correct, to rectify. That's what tikkun is. And the soul needs a tikkun. Why does the soul need a tikkun? Because number one, there could be sins from our past lives. We have those sins, the soul needs to rectify them. That's number one. Number two, it could be that the person lived a wonderful sin-free life, but they're missing the fulfillment of certain mitzvahs. And therefore the soul is returned so they can have the opportunity to fulfill those mitzvahs. Another reason for Gilgal or reincarnation or transmigration is that the soul is brought back and able to assist others. It might not be brought back for their own needs, but others need them. Also, another reason is to find a zivug. What's a zivug? Your soulmate, which means that it's very possible that a person, when they were in this world, for some reason, did not match, mate, marry the person that was destined for them. They're basherta. So they have to come back and they have to once again reunite. That's the purpose. How is this done? See, I told you we're moving fast tonight. How is this done? It's done through Gilgal. We said Gilgal is in which a soul from a previous life enters a body. When? At birth, at conception. It could be at birth or it could be at conception, even before. The soul, and remember, we learned it doesn't mean an entire soul. A soul has components. There are parts to a soul, just like there are parts to the human body. And you might be able to take someone's finger and put it on someone else. You can transplant an organ or whatever it is. So there are components to the soul that can join with existing soul of a human being. Happens at conception or at birth. When we have this type of reincarnation of Gilgal, so the reincarnated soul experiences everything that the living person does and senses and feels. If there's pain, they feel pain. If there's anguish, they feel anguish. If there's joy, they feel joy. They are part. Their soul is like part of the soul that is forming the individual. And that soul, the Gilgal, will remain there throughout the person's lifetime, their entire lives. So they cannot say, thanks for the ride, I'm out. Been here 25 years, I enjoyed it, now I'm gone. No, they stay there for their lifetime. There's another method in which a soul can be returned and thereby achieve its tikkun, its rectification, and that's called ibur. Ibur, remember we mentioned that from the word pregnancy. Just like when a person is pregnant, they are carrying with them temporarily, they're carrying another life. Similarly, a person who is already existing, another soul can attach itself to that living human being after birth. Why do they attach themselves there? They will do so, and by the way, once they attach themselves, they can take leave. It's not for lifetime. And they don't necessarily sense and experience everything that the living person does. Why then are they sent to this person? Either for their selves, they need a tikkun. What does that mean? That means it could be that somebody was missing a certain mitzvah. Maybe they were missing a mitzvah of helping a certain impoverished individual during their lifetime. They could have helped the person, they didn't, whatever the circumstances. So they are going to be sent back as an ibur when this impoverished person, or maybe a descendant, is in need. They are sent back to attach themselves to their host so that they can fulfill their mission of indeed helping this person that they failed to do so in their first lives. Once they do that, they can take leave. They fulfilled what they were missing. Or they're sent back temporarily to assist the host. The host over here might need their assistance. Now, this really takes us into another avenue in which we say that a person assists the host. The soul can assist the host. How? How do you assist the host? How does that happen? What takes place? Person can all of a sudden have certain feelings about things, or they have certain leanings, tendencies to something that maybe a month ago they didn't feel that way. Now they feel that way. What's changed? Maybe what's changed is that they have become a host to this soul that has attached itself. Okay, so this is the soul returning one of these two ways for this purpose, self or to assist others. Okay, so now we're going to ask a question, why? Why do we have this? I'm sorry Bert Adams isn't here because she asked a question, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or last week. And she said, remember, we learned last week that the concept of Gehenna, what is Gehenna? So we say, people usually translate Gehenna as purgatory. But the concept of purgatory of Gehenna in Judaism is nothing like it's portrayed in Western civilization or other civilizations. We saw the Talmudic description about the king giving out royal garments, and there were those who maintained them beautifully, and there were others who had them soiled. And those that were soiled had to be sent to the cleaners. And this is an example of the soul. The garments that God is giving us is the human soul. Those who take care of this human soul, they will be greatly rewarded. Those who don't, well, we have to go to the cleaners. The soul must go to the cleaners. Why is that? Because as we saw in Ethics of Our Fathers, chapter 4, verse number 21, Mishnah 21, because this world is like a corridor before the next world, which is the great banquet hall. The great reward is not in this world. The great reward is in the world to come. This is where we earn it and we prepare. But in order to get into the banquet hall, we have to appear appropriately dressed. If our garment is soiled, first we have to go to the cleaners. And that's what the concept of Gehenna is. The soul is cleansed there. The tikkun, the rectification, the correction takes place in this cleaners. That's where it takes place. So how long is the experience in Gehenna?
11 months.
11 months is the Kaddish. Why? In the morning is 12 months. 11 months is the Kaddish, because we say that the maximum a person would ever have to experience is 12 months. And we believe that such a thing is never going to happen to a Jewish soul. So that's why we only say the Kaddish for 11 months. But the maximum is 12 months. Let's assume 12 months. The worst case scenario is 12 months. Well, that's a lot quicker than a person having to come back once, twice, 3 times. And as we learned last week, if they make continuous progress, they can come back 100 times. We're talking about lifetimes. So why do we have to experience the return, the Gilgul, if the purpose is for the tikkun, when we can get a tikkun much quicker? Just go to the cleaners. Right? So the question I think that was asked over here was that why does a person have to lead a righteous life? We can lead a sinful life because we'll just come back. So what I answered then, which was correct, was that, and what makes you think that when we come back, we're going to lead a righteous life? How do we know? We don't know. Don't know what we don't remember. All right, so I actually saw this question asked, everything tonight. How do I know any of this? Where do you find this? So I happen to have a source from the writings of the Arizal, the great 16th century Kabbalist, and his works were written by his great disciple, Rabbi Chaim Vital, and it's very hard to understand. I have the Sefer at home, Boshar Hagilgulim, the gates of reincarnation. And it's quite difficult. Most of it, I don't have a clue. But there are things there that I can understand, and I'm going to share them with you to the best of my ability. That's where this all comes from. So he asked this question, why reincarnation? Why not just experience the quicker, easier method? So he says, because people who lived a sinful life. Now, we're not talking about good people, average people, in which we've made mistakes. That's everybody. We're talking about people who have lived a sinful life. They weren't interested in living a life of virtue, albeit we make mistakes. They were more interested in living a life of pursuing their passions. Not to be confused with those who are evil and wicked. That's different. That we might get to next week if you want. Okay? If a person lived a sinful life, so what is the question? That why does God, we have the Gehenna, let the person repeat it? Why don't they repeat? What happens to these sinful people? They go to the cleaners. Why? They're sent to the cleaners for the 12 months. Why is that? Because if they were to be sent back, they lived a sinful life once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. They're only going to increase the degradations of their life. We don't want that. So what do we want? So they have the cleaners. What about the rest of us? So there in the Talmud Makos 23b, which those who do Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, so at the end, before each chapter in Ethics of Our Fathers, there's an introduction. At the end of each chapter, there's also a little phrase, a little paragraph that is said. When the women study ethics, do you say that on Shabbos when you finish it? That it says, Rabbi Chananya ben Akashya said, the Holy One, blessed is he, wished to confer merit upon Israel. Therefore, he gave them Torah and mitzvahs in abundance. And they quote a verse. So the question is, God wants to confer merit upon Israel, so he gave us Torah and mitzvahs in abundance. What does that mean, in abundance? So to be honest with you, I always thought that meant that the nations of the world have 7 mitzvahs, and we've got 613. We have an abundance. But what the Arizal says is that God says a person, you lived a good, virtuous, righteous life. All right, made some mistakes. We need to correct a few things, missing a couple of mitzvahs, couple of sins we have to take care for. You know what? I'm going to send you back. Why? Because since I see that you've been on a path of spiritual growth, we are confident that you will continue in that path and thereby have the opportunity to earn greater reward. We could go to the cleaners, 12 months, clean, fine. That means this garment we've been given is cleaned, and that's what we're going to have to wear. But imagine if you have a gown of $2,000 that you can get it cleaned and it'll look beautiful. Or you could have an opportunity to trade that gown in for a $20,000 gown. Wouldn't you want to do that? Sure. That's the opportunity of returning. So those who return as human beings, not coming back as animals, not coming back as a leaf or part of the water or a stone, they are given an opportunity to earn a greater reward and thereby have a closer seat in the great banquet hall. Okay? This is the idea of the reincarnation. Now, let's listen to this a little bit. In the tractate Psachim, 68b, it's a very short piece. It says, Rav Sheshes, every 30 days would review his studies. Imagine that. Every 30 days, he went and he reviewed everything that he had learned. And then he would stand and lean on the bolt of a doorway, which they discuss, why is that important? And he would say the following: rejoice, my soul, rejoice. For you have I read, for you have I studied. This is Rav Sheshes. So all the commentaries, they ask a question like, who's he talking? He's talking to his soul? I mean, the soul is, that's who we are. Last week I asked everybody, point to yourselves, right? Everybody points to their body. That's not who we are. The body is the place. This is who we are, where the mind is, the brain, the seat of the soul. Hanashama Sheba Moichi, we say, before we put tefillin on, there's a paragraph in which we say, we're going to put the tefillin on our heads, and the soul, the seat of the soul is the brain, the mind. Why is he's talking to his soul? That's who he is. That's who we are. We are living souls. Who is he talking to over here? So listen to this incredible explanation from Rabbi Yitzchak Luria the Arizal. He says, as we know in the Talmud, Rabbi Sheshes was visually impaired. Couldn't see. So now we find another Gemara, the beginning of Baba Basra, 3b. And here it says, it talks about Hordus. Who was Hordus? Herod. Call him Herod the Great. Right? What did Herod the Great build? Masada, Herodian. He actually built and magnificently enhanced, as you say, the second temple and many of the walls around the second temple and around the old city. So they call him Herod the Great. Oh, he was a genius. He was a brilliant architect and engineer. Herod the Great was one of the great villains for the Jewish people. Okay, so his name was Hordus. What is it about? So in the year 165 before our common era, okay, 165, so we're going back how many years? 2,300 years ago, almost 2,400 years ago. That's when we had Hanukkah. What is Hanukkah? We know that the Syrian Greeks, they were in Israel, and they were oppressing us, trying to Hellenize us, cause us to lose our faith, adopt the Hellenistic faith, and we had the revolt, the Hashmonaim, the revolt, and they came and they were able to drive them out of the temple. They were unskilled warriors against armies. Hashem was with us, came into the temple, a little bit of oil, blah, blah, and everything. Lit the menorah, burned for 8 days, Hanukkah. But what we're not aware of is that gave us access to Yerushalayim. The war against the Syrian Greeks continued for another 25 years. It wasn't until the year 140 before our common era that we were able to have total victory and drive them out of the land of Israel. At that point, the last remaining son of the Hashmonaim, I think his name was Shimon, he was made king. And the Hashmonaim, the Hasmonean dynasty, lasted from 140 BCE until 36 BCE. 36, okay? At 36, what happened then? Herod became king. He remained king with Roman governors until the year 68 of our common era, which was the year in which what happened? Oh, that was later. Destruction of the temple. Very good. Destruction of the second temple. Okay, so now with this background, listen to the following, please. Herod was originally a slave in the house of the Hashmonaim. He was a Gentile slave. His family either sold themselves into slavery or they were sold into slavery by others taken. They were purchased and they were considered slaves. Now, a slave, to be understood in Judaism, is to be treated with respect and rights, and not just a piece of property you can do whatever you want with. But nevertheless, he was of a lower class. He set his eyes on a certain young girl from the illustrious Hashmonaim family. One day he heard a heavenly voice that said, any slave that revolts now will succeed in his rebellion. He thereupon rose and killed all of his masters, exterminating the house of the Hashmonaim. But he spared the life of that maiden in order to marry her. So the reason he put his eyes upon her, some say that he was passionately driven to her, or he wanted to do so for political reasons, to marry her. Why is that? Because in Jewish law, let's say a Jewish man owns a Gentile maidservant, and he marries her. It is understood by virtue of his marrying her that he was giving her freedom, or else the marriage cannot be valid. So here, he left one member of the house of the Hashmonaim, his masters, and he was going to compel her to become his wife, thereby claiming, you see, if anybody says I'm a slave, I'm free. Or else, how could she marry me? When the maiden saw that Herod wanted to marry her, she ascended the roof and raised her voice, saying, whoever comes in future years and says, I am descended from the house of the Hashmonaim, that person in truth is a slave. Because the whole house of the Hashmonaim are destroyed, except for this woman and her husband, Herod. For no one remains from the Hashmonaim family except for herself. And then she hurled herself from the rooftop to the ground. And this was after she completed her declarations. Herod preserved her body in honey for 7 years. I mean, I guess honey could be used as a preservative. Okay? And you thought psycho was difficult, huh? All right. There are those who say that he copulated with her corpse, and there are those who say he did not do so. According to those who say that he did, that which he preserved her for his own satisfaction. Those who say he did not, he preserved her so that people would not know that she's dead, and he'd be able to say he married a king's daughter. This is Herod. Okay? Herod said to himself, who are the ones who expound and teach the following verse, which is in the book of Deuteronomy? It says, from the midst of your brothers, you shall place a king over you. And our sages have explained, why does it say from the midst of your brothers? That one who is a slave can never be a king. So that means who's going to publicize the fact that he's not worthy of being a king? Who's going to do that? It's going to be the sages. So he rose and he slew all of the sages. He spared Baba ben Buta. His name was Baba ben Buta. Nevertheless, he was concerned about this great sage. So he placed around his head a crown of porcupine hide and the porcupine hide has these like needle-like protrusions that eventually gouged out his eyes. Baba ben Buta was blinded by Herod. One day Herod came and sat before Baba ben Buta pretending to be a commoner. He said, "Do you see what this wicked slave Herod is doing?" Wanted to hear what Baba ben Buta would say. But he said, "What should I do to him?" He said, "Why don't you curse him?" He said, he quoted a verse, "Even in your thoughts, do not curse a king." He said, "But this man is not a true king." He answered, Baba Babuta said, "Even if he's a simple wealthy man, it says, do not curse the rich." Herod then said, "But one who acts in such a manner to your people, what he did, is he not deserving? Is he not wicked?" Baba Babuta said, "I am afraid of this king." He responded and said, "No one will ever know, just the two of us." And he said, Baba Babuta quoted a verse in which it says, "For a bird of the sky will carry the sound, and a winged creature will betray the matter." In other words, like we say, the walls have ears. There's no such thing as just the two of us. When Herod heard this, he said, "If I had known that the rabbis were so circumspect that they would never speak badly about me, I never would have killed them." So he revealed his identity to Baba Bambuta and he said, "I am Herod. What is the remedy for me for what I've done, killing all of these sages?" So he said to Herod, "You distinguished the light of the world by annihilating these rabbis whose Torah knowledge is compared to light. Therefore, in order to gain forgiveness, go and occupy yourself with restoring the light of the world by rebuilding the holy temple." Then it goes on to say, whoever's eyes did not see the temple that Herod refurbished has not seen a thing of beauty in their lifetime. Okay, this Baba Bambuta, he was blind. Now I want to show you something of great interest, at least to me. I hope it is to you. And that is, as the Arizal points out, his name was Baba. Sounds like a nice other name, no? Baba Bambuta. And we're talking about, we started with Rav Sheshes. What do you notice about these two names? Anything strike you? They're both written from right to left. Well, that's because it's Hebrew. Okay? Okay. What's the first letter in our alphabet? Aleph. What's the last letter in our alphabet? S. Tough. What is the second letter in our alphabet? Base. What is the second from last letter in the alphabet? Shin. Now Rizal says, Rav Sheshes' soul was a reincarnation of Baba Bambuta. It's like a mirror image. The Aleph, the Tav, the Beis, the Shin, a mirror image, one to the other. The soul of Baba Bambuta, who was blinded, came back. The Gilgul of Rabbi came back into the soul. His soul came into the body of Rav Sheshes, reincarnated. And that's what Rav Sheshes meant when he would study and he would say, "Rejoice, my soul," not my soul, "Rejoice, O soul, rejoice. For what I have studied, I studied for you." So what do you mean, rejoice, O soul? It's your soul. No, he was saying that the soul should rejoice because Rav Sheshes knew this was the soul of Baba Bambuta. He said that there are some who know, some very few who know who they are reincarnated from. He knew, and therefore he was saying, what I am doing in this world is not going to impact or affect my body, but it's all for this soul, which is not really my soul. It's the soul of Baba Ben. This is not something that we can say, something that we can just go, wow. Okay, Ecclesiastes. Let's turn to Ecclesiastes. What page? Did I write it? I didn't write it. Oh, I forgot to write it. All the way in the back, Ecclesiastes. Tell you in a minute what page. It's 1278. 1278. Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes written by, who wrote Ecclesiastes? King Solomon, right. We want verse 4. It's a very famous verse. We see it, verse 4. Chani, you want to read it?
A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth endures forever.
Okay, so it's a famous verse, like, this goes, that goes, everything changed, but this is here. This is the real estate. This is forever. The earth doesn't change. Very nice. What's King Solomon coming to say? The Rizal says, generations, the movement, the building, back and forth. This is symbolic of men. They come, they go. They go, they come. Meaning that men experience the reincarnation. But the earth, what does it say about the earth?
It endures forever.
It endures forever. The earth doesn't go back and forth. The earth is symbolic of women. Why is the earth symbolic of women? Plant a seed, out comes life. Okay, earth, meaning, as we learned a few weeks ago, that women are really not subject to the reincarnation. Women, if they need to have the tikkun, they do it through the cleaners. Women don't have to come back. Women don't. But they do. But they do. So the earth is like women. King Solomon is telling us this concept of reincarnation is really for the needs of men. And as we learn, women will come back. Why do they come back? To assist others. To assist others. That's why. Or maybe because the man who comes back has to find his zivug, his soulmate, which takes us to another statement found in the tractate Sota, in which it says, Koshas zivugay shaladam kakriyas yamsuf. A person finding his mate in life is as difficult as the splitting of the sea. Now, I guess splitting the sea was not something easy. Easy for God, but not easy for us. Finding your basherta, your spouse in life, your soulmate, is not easy, it's difficult. So the commentaries say, what do you mean it's difficult? People get married all the time. Well, what are we talking about? So they say it means the zivug shading, second zivug. Second, that's difficult. So they say, what does that mean? It means, in other words, if a person is getting married for a second time, first time wasn't so difficult, second time is very difficult, but that's not true either. Sometimes you find people that the first time might not have been so easy, second time they met somebody, boom, click, whatever, wonderful, everything's great, wonderful life. What does it mean? So again, this is what it means. When we say zivug sheni, second marriage, it doesn't mean to a different person. It means the marriage of this man with his predetermined soulmate when they have to get married a second time. When is that? When he is reincarnated. Why is it that we find, this is all from the Arizal, he says, sometimes you find that people They go out, they meet, wonderful, clicks, they're married, everything's wonderful.
Таня, позвони Белле.
And then there are other occasions in which people can be dating for years and years and years until they find
Она
their
звонит мне.
Mashiach. Why is that? Once they find the Mashiach, everything is wonderful. But why? Why is it? He says because a first time soul, the first time this soul is here in this world, it's easy to find a soulmate. No reason not to. But the second time, she's not interested. Why not? Because she doesn't want to come back here. Women were not subject to reincarnation. Women, as we learned, we spoke about that 2 weeks ago, being different in nature, different in spirit. Women don't have to experience reincarnation to return. Even if they were missing something, that's okay. So why is she brought back? She's brought back because he has to have his soulmate. She would prefer to be in the world of the soul because she already experienced her tikkun through the Gehenna, through the cleaners. She's already experienced what she needs. She's clean, she's ready, she's got her gown, she's ready to go. She's ready for the banquet. But what's she doing back here? He needs her. You're schlepping me back? That's why I'm here, you're making me come back?
How much do I owe?
You haven't got enough. That's why they say the second time is more difficult. All right, one more piece. I told you I'll get you out here on time. You having a problem with this?
Yeah, something's not, yeah.
So let's say Reuven and Dinah were meant for each other. First time Reuven is brought into this world, it'll be very easy for him to meet Dinah. Okay? They leave this world after 120 years. Dinah taken care of. Cleaners takes care of her. She's ready for the world to come. Reuven needs to come back. Because Reuven needs to come back, he needs to have Dinah back with him. And therefore, Dinah doesn't want to go back. She wants to be in the world of the souls that she earned. But she's brought back because of Reuven. And because there's a resistance from the soul of Dinah, they're finding each other and getting together is not as smooth as the first time. Okay?
Because they didn't get together the first time?
No, they
or
did.
They
They
did get
did,
together.
yes, they did. They
So-
did.
So why does he have to find her again?
Because he needs to have his Basherta, he needs to have his soulmate when he exists in this world.
So there's only one Bashir.
That's correct.
What about when Yaakov?
Well, a person can have more than one wife, but I mean, whoever it is, biblically, man can have more than one wife, but those are the souls that are his Basher. In other words, it's not like, okay, I'm going to get one this time, and then there's a different one intended to me when I come back 2 centuries later. No, it's got to be that soul. That's. See, you all having trouble with this. Okay.
But they will find each other?
Oh, yes.
That next time around,
Yes.
and in the meantime, he can be perfecting himself,
Hope.
or
Yes.
fixing whatever,
Yes.
but they could also have to come back again.
Yes.
And
That's correct.
each time they have to,
Each time he has to come back, he's going to bring her back.
and they have to find each other all over.
That's it. That's it. That's exactly right. Okay? All right. Now, Kenny, they should do well. He asked me a question, I think last week he said, he asked me about Moshe Rabbeinu's soul. Where is Moshe Rabbeinu's soul today? I said, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know. Right. We don't know where he's buried or anything. I have no idea. But listen to what I found. The Arizal says that the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu occupied the body of Hevel. Who was Hevel? Who's Hevel?
Cain's brother.
Cain's brother, Abel in English, Hevel. And then Hevel died. His soul, the soul of Moshe, which was from Hevel, went to Shais. Who's Shais? In English, Seth. Who's Shais? Who?
Chase is the son of Adam.
Son of Adam. Right? 3 years later, Adam and Eve had another son, Shais. Shais died. His soul went to Noah. Noah had a son, Shem. Moshe's soul went from Hevel to Shais to Noah and to Shem, even though Shem and Noah were alive at the same time, parts here, parts there. Right? Parts here, like a flame. Like a flame. You have a flame, I light one candle, light another candle. The original flame is still same condition. And this candle is here, this candle is there. Okay? All right. Let's go to, yes, go ahead.
But was Moshe act? Wait, when,
Moshe's body was not in existence yet, but the
Right.
soul of Moshe was created. All souls were created with Adam and Eve. All souls.
so the soul of Moshe was in people before him.
Correct. That's right. All souls were originally found within Adam, just like you have DNA. This was like the spiritual DNA, and therefore, when Adam and Eve sinned, it impacted on all souls that will come forth from them. He sinned. Why are we bearing the guilt? The answer is because we are that DNA that was impacted. Yes, ma'am.
So could a soul be split among two and be in two different bodies?
Yes, that is,
At
yes.
the same time?
Yes. Okay, let's go to, what do I have here? Chapter 33, right? Chapter 33. I thought what page? No, not 160. Chapter 33, what verse? 12. Page 505. 505. This is after the sin of the golden calf. Relax. This is after the sin of the golden calf. Moshe pleads before God. God accepts Moshe's advocacy on behalf of Klal Yisrael. He accepts our repentance. And then Moshe begins to pray to God, seeing that this is a very fortuitous moment. That Moshe's prayers and Klal Yisrael's repentance has found favor in God's eyes. Let's start with verse 12. Go ahead.
Moshe said to Hashem, see, you say to me, take this people onward, but you did not inform me whom you will send with me. And you had said, I shall know you by name, and you have also found favor in my eyes.
Okay. Moshe says, God, you're telling me to take the people, lead them, but you said you're not going to be with me. Who are you going to send with me? And you said to me, which he said in the past, Yedaticha v'shem, I will know you by name, and you have found chen in my eyes. Look what Moshe said. Moshe is saying to God, God Almighty, you said that you have known me b'shem. You know me by my name. What does that mean, you know me by my name? As opposed to what? The social security number. You know me by my name, and you said that I have found favor. Moshe said, God, you know me as Shem. Who's Shem?
Noah.
Noah's son. You know me as Shem. And I found chen. What's chen? Ches, nun. Spell it backwards. Nun, ches. What does that spell? Noah. Moshe is alluding over here and saying, God, you know me, my soul. that existed and that I have in my life corrected whatever was missing for the soul when it was in shame. Similarly, when the soul was in Noah, whatever was missing, I have corrected that. Therefore, I'm asking, who are you going to send? Very nice. But what about Hevel and Shase? Now, the name Moshe is Mem, Shin, Hey. Okay? So Hevel's name is Hey, Beis Lamed. So Moshe has a Hey, Hevel has a Hey. What's missing? What letters are missing from Hevel's name that we don't find in Moshe? The Beis and Lamed. That means the element of this name has not yet been fulfilled in Moshe. The name Shes, Shin, Tov. Moshe has a Shin, Shes has a Shin. What's missing? The Tov. The name of Shes, the name of Hevel, which means their souls, has not yet been perfected. But it was. Where was it? At the burning bush. Turn to chapter 3, verse 2. Let's go to the burning bush. Page 301. 301. Still with me? Not Lucy yet? 301. Moshe's at the burning bush. Okay, let's see. Go ahead. Let's start from verse 1.
Moshe was shepherding the sheep of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. He guided the sheep far into the wilderness, and he arrived at the mountain of God toward Horeb. An angel of Hashem appeared to him in a blaze of fire from amid the bush. He saw, and behold, the bush was burning in the fire, but the bush was not consumed.
Okay. He saw the angel in a blaze of fire. Doesn't just say he saw the angel in the fire, but a blaze of fire. What's the Hebrew word for those who want to look at Pasuk Beis? What's the Hebrew word for blaze? See it? In the Hebrew, Vayera Malach Hashem Elov, an angel appeared to him, Belabas H. Labas H. Look at this word. You see it? He said Belabas. Labas is spelled Lamed, Beis, Tough. The root of the word is laid, heart. So the angel appeared to him from the heart of the fire or from the blaze of the fire. Could have simply said the angel appeared to him from fire. That's pretty impressive unto itself. Torah is telling us something else. Look at the letters. What letters are they? Lamed, Beis, Tough. What was missing from Havel? The Beis and the Lamed. What was missing from Shase? The Tough. These are the letters, Beis and Lamed for Havel, Tough for Shase. It was at this moment when God was able to appear to Moshe, and Moshe was able to perceive this and receive his mission from God. Go to Paro, you will be the Redeemer of Israel. That's the moment by Moshe accepting this, that he was able to correct, fulfill the total perfection of the souls of Hevel and Shase. Now, what? Very nice. Okay, wow. Way over our heads, right? Here's what's important for us. And this is what I want you to walk away with. And that is, we ask ourselves a question. Who am I? Well, I'm not this, I'm this. And who's this? What do I know about my own soul? Who am I? It's found in our names. Our names. A Jewish name is not a means of identification. A Jewish name is a title of our souls. Someone has the title doctor, tells you about them. Lawyer, tells you about them. Embezzler, tells you about them. You know a little bit about the person. A Jewish name tells us about our souls. It's very important to have a proper Jewish name. How do we know what the name is all about? So, every name has a verse in the Holy Scriptures. And if you want to know what your verse is, that verse will tell you about yourself. Maybe not, what does this verse have to do with me? Maybe the letters of this verse, maybe there's a code in this verse. How do I know what my verse is? So if you happen to have an Art Scroll Siddur, in the back of the Art Scroll Siddur, let's see, where is it? Here we go. In this one, it's on page 924. And it tells you, for example, let's say, what is your name? Ephraim? Ephraim. Ephraim begins with an aleph and it ends with a mem. So there is a verse in the Holy Scriptures that begins with an aleph and ends with a mem. That's your verse. Let's see, what is it? Here's the verse. This verse is from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9, verse 7. Atahu Hashem Elokim, you are Hashem my God, who has chosen Avraham and has taken him from the land of Kasdim, and you made his name Avraham. We say this every day in the morning prayers. That's your pasuk, Fred. Think about it. Okay, let's take the name Chana. Let's see what we can come up with Chana. This is, let's see, these are men's names. What are women's names? Maybe women here too. Chana, here we go. The name for Chana is taken from Proverbs, chapter 31, verse 17, from the woman of valor. Chogra ba'oiz masneha begins with a ches. She girds her loins, lata'amed zeraiseha, and her limbs are filled with strength. That's your verse. Anybody? Show what's your puzzle? Miriam begins with a mem and ends with a mem. Here you go. This is taken from Proverbs chapter 15, verse 30. Ma'or einayim yisamach leiv. He who enlightens one's eyes brings joy to the heart. Shmua taiva, good tidings to dashin otzam. They fatten and strengthen our bones. Pesha, let's see what I can come up. I hope this says Pesha here. Let's see. Pay with an aleph, right? Okay, this is a Yiddish name, so this one doesn't have it. This is just a few, but there are others. Usually these are just the ones that are Hebrew, not the Yiddish. So Avraham, what's Alan? What are you, Avraham? Avraham Zalman, you get two. You have two verses. So Avraham is same one as Ephraim, both aleph and mem. Let's see if I can find Zalman. Yeah, it does have Zalman. Zalman over here, 31. That would be from Proverbs chapter 31. And that is, no, Proverbs? No, Genesis. Parshas Vayechi. Zvulun, to the son of Zvulun, Jacob's blessing. To the shores of the seas you will dwell, and you shall wander in your boats to the outskirts of Sidon. You've always wanted to wonder that. Okay. All right. What the point is that every Jewish name is extremely significant. That's why we have a custom, we name after somebody. What's the big deal? You name after this and name after that. There is a connection to the soul. There's a connection to the neshama. Does that mean that the person you name for their neshama is somehow within you or something? Maybe. Maybe not. maybe, but there is a connection. And we want to know who we are. We want to know Rabbi and Moshe, look at the names. You want to know who Moshe is? Look at the names. Look at the name. God, you knew me b'shem. You said I found Chaim. Look at the names. Look at the letters. Look what they spell. Look what they form. Look at the numerical value. That will tell you about who we. Yes, go ahead.
Carmel having been killed is not going to continue genealogy.
Hevel, you know why? Because he doesn't have any offspring.
I know that,
Right.
but now for now with clarity, his soul still, or the components of the soul is manifesting in other characters, or I could say personalities.
Had great impact on the world and are found in the genealogy. Very good. Okay, we have some cookies and everything. I appreciate you all coming out. You want to continue with this next week? We can do more. Yes, you like this? All right. Right, I'm gonna mention it. Okay. Thank you, Zoomers, wherever you are.